Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Letting Go of Her podcast. Um, Today I'm going to give an update, update a little bit on my life. I finally did it. I finally quit therapy. And I don't want to use the word quit because it's not like something that I spontaneously did. And it's not like it's something that I have given up on. It's just something that I have felt in my heart for a really long time. Oof. Sorry, guys, I'm a little emotional because I literally just quit. I literally just quit therapy like 10 minutes ago. So it's raw and fresh right now. But I felt what better way to get all these emotions out of me than to record a podcast episode for maybe someone who, I don't know, maybe someone is in therapy and doesn't know what to do next, or maybe someone who has thought about starting therapy and doesn't know what to do next. But I'm gonna give my take on therapy and just kind of what the Lord truly taught me during this season of my life. So I had first started therapy um, back when I had just turned 23. So it was just when I had gotten married, because I felt that I was just in a really just low place and just like I felt really depressed. Um, and so I started therapy, but I was going to like a free counseling center. So these were people that just needed to finish their like 3,000 ish so clinical hours in order to become a therapist, right? So I went to one and she was just really, really, really sympathetic. Like whenever I would say, like, oh, this happened or this is what happened, she would just be like, oh, like, I'm so sorry, and maybe that works for some people, but um, I didn't want someone to feel sorry for me, and so we had some scheduling differences. So then she recommended that I go see someone else. And when I went to this person was not sympathetic whatsoever. This person was just like harsh and was just like, well, you're like this because of this, and you're like this because of that, right? Like, no, it was just very like black and white with her. And I didn't like that either because at this point, I always like to say that I was just too immature to kind of understand and grasp what the actual concept of therapy was, right? Like, I went into therapy thinking that, like, okay, I'm going to go here, I'm going to spill my guts out, and all these people are going to, or my therapist, whatever, are going to like tell me, like, how to fix my problems, right? Like, oh, well, if you don't want to feel this way, then do this. And if you don't want to feel that way, then do that. And if this and that and this and that, right? And so, yeah, when you go to therapy, you very quickly realize like that's not how it is. Like what therapy is like you go and you talk, and it's all about like a self reflection. Like it's all about like you figuring out what's going on or why things are going this way or whatever, and then you realizing what it is that you need to work on, because essentially, like, as much as we want to blame others and we want to be like, I'm like this because of that, or I'm like this because of my childhood, and I'm like this because of this. Like at the end of the day, you stay that way because of you. And at that point, I didn't want to take the blame. I didn't want to work on myself, right? I wanted to just essentially like bash these people. I wanted to be like, this person this and that person that. And now I'm depressed and now I'm anxious and now this and now that, right? And so I didn't want to work on myself. I didn't want to accept that the only reason why like the only reason why you are the way that you are is because you are the one who keeps yourself there. Um nobody else can force you. Nobody's, holding a gun to your head and being like, you're going to stay anxious forever, right? Like nobody is doing that. You are the one who is keeping you where you are, and it's essentially only you. And so at that point, I truly quit going to therapy. I didn't like it. I was like, no, this is too much work, too hard of work. This person doesn't know what they're doing, right? Like, why are you blaming me when you should be blaming everyone else? And I never went back to therapy up until what was it? Was it 20? Yeah, it was like 2022. I think it was like July of 2022 because I remember I had just had about like two sessions, maybe three, before I ended up having to give birth to my son, which at that point we took about like a 2-3 week break before I went back because she wanted me to just kind of adjust to having baby, right? So I went back to therapy because there was just things going on in my life that I felt that I needed to process with someone who knew more, I guess you can say. And so I just I felt that like up until that point I had done a lot of work on myself, right? On a lot of like stop blaming others and just start focusing on you and fixing you and changing you and doing all these things, right? So because I remember when I started seeing my therapist, she was like, oh, you've done a lot of like work already, and so I was like, yeah. And so I felt that like I was using therapy at the time as like a crutch of like, wait, I can't do this on my own. Like I need a therapist, right? Like I need someone to like direct me in the right way. And she was extremely helpful. She helped me gain a lot of insight. And she was also really good at calling me out on things when like I wanted to blame others or I wanted to do this, and she'd be like, nope, like that's not them, like that's on you, right? Um, so she did a really good job at just kind of like holding me accountable to myself, I guess you can say. And this was when we started going more to church and we started being more involved in church and I started reading my Bible more and stuff. And that was when I realized like my therapist isn't the person who is healing me. It's Jesus who is healing me, right? It's letting it all go. It's giving it to him. That is who is helping me feel better, right? Like I am feeling better. I am feeling more confident because I am in the word. It's because I am constantly praying. It's because I am constantly talking to Jesus. Like that was when I realized like I didn't never needed this whole what I called a quote unquote healing journey. Like I never needed all of that. All I truly needed was Jesus. But not just Jesus. All I truly needed was surrendering myself to Jesus. And so we both felt very confident that I would be okay if I were to be done with therapy, right? So she discharged me like that first week of June. Yeah, so that first week of June in 2023. So I was with her for almost a full ish year. Um and I was feeling good. Like things were going great. And she had asked me, like, oh, so what are you praying for now? And I was like, I'm praying to just like trust God more, right? Like I'm praying to just like, I just want to fully trust him. And I remember her telling me, she was like, well, like be careful what you pray for because you're not just going to like wake up one morning and be like, oh, I trust you now, God, like she's like, no, he's gonna give you something to where you have no choice but to trust him. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm good. We're good. Me and God, like we're good. Like what could possibly go wrong? Like what could he possibly throw at me where I'm not going to fully trust him? Well, lo and behold, I had my very first intense panic attack. And I kept having them over and over and over again. Um and I remember when I was having them, my husband would always be like, just call your therapist again, right? And tell her that you want to go back. And I was always like, no, I can't because then, like, I failed. Then she's going to think she didn't do a good job, right? Like, then she's going to think that she failed. And I was like, no, I can't. Like, I can do this. I can handle this. I can whatever, right? Um, but what I didn't realize at the time, but I can see it now because I'm on the other end, is that, God was truly just answering my prayers and God was truly just working in my heart. It wasn't that He gave me panic attacks to trust in Him more. He gave me panic attacks so that I can break my walls down so that I would be able to make friends. Because in this life, you can't do life alone. You need Jesus, but also you need a community. And I wasn't willing to put these walls down, right? Like I thought I was. And I was going to small group and I was making small talk with, the people, especially or essentially the women that were in there, right? Like, and I was like, oh yeah, I talked to them on Sundays. Oh yeah, look, we finally exchanged phone numbers, like, yeah, I text him here and there, right? But it was never like a deeper relationship. It was never like a deeper friendship. It was always just like like small talk, right? It was always just like surface level talking. And I had been praying for friends. I was like, God, I really want truly deep friends, and I want truly deep friendships, and I want you to help me with this. And so you know, he truly delivered, right? And he knew that I wouldn't put my walls down. He knew that I wouldn't become vulnerable unless I was at my most vulnerable state. And that was when my panic attacks started happening and my anxiety was at its like all-time worst. Like I truly felt like I was dying every single day. Like my body hurt, my body ached. I felt sick. I felt ill. Like it was one of the worst feelings that I have ever felt before. And and still till this day, from time to time, I will get anxiety that bad where it just feels like, oh my gosh, like my body just feels drained, right? And what I'm realizing now, it's not so much anxiety. It's just that one, I need sleep. Two, I need to eat better. Three, I probably am trying to do too many things at once, right? Four, that God is probably telling me to slow down. um, but also five, I've realized that when I start to feel a little bit off, I start to catastrophize. What's the right word? Um, and I am the one who makes my own brain spiral, right? Like I said at the beginning, it's only you. It's only ever you who keeps yourself where you are. And so it's been me, right? When I start to feel something off or something hurts or something aches, right? Like I've become super extremely hyper aware of like every single feeling in my body, which is kind of annoying because your body makes noise and your body is gonna hurt or ache or do like make a movement or something, right? Like it's your body. Your body is constantly moving. And if you're feeling all of these things, it means that like you're alive, right? So my body making all this noise and all this like things and twinges and whatever whatnot is just reminding me that like that I'm alive, right? And that I should be grateful that I'm alive. But for whatever reason, my body wants to process that as anxiety. So if I feel something, I'm like, oh no. And then I start catastrophizing. I gotta get that word right. Into thinking that it's something way worse, something greater than that, something just like over the top, right? And then at that point, I start to spiral and I start to give myself anxiety. And there have been times where I have spiraled so much that I've given myself a panic attack. And it's only ever me, right? It's only ever me doing that to myself. It's never anything or anyone else. Um, yeah, it's never anything or anyone else who does that. So, during this like time of horrible anxiety, I like slowly started to reach out to like different people and doing different things. I wasn't necessarily opening up about what was going on, but like whenever I would get invited somewhere, I would go. But honestly, to me, it was more just like an anxious crutch. To me, it was like, okay, if I drop dead here, because at times it would feel like I was just gonna drop dead at any moment. Like that's how bad like the physical symptoms were feeling. And I'm like, if I just drop dead right here, like my kids will be taken care of. They'll figure out a way to contact my husband, right? Like, sorry that I died in your house, but like at least like my kids will be safe, right? And so I would go just to like ease my anxious brain. And even though every time I would go, I would be the most anxious I have ever felt before. Like I would go and my head would feel lightheaded and foggy, and I would be like leaning onto things, right? Because I was like, I'm gonna pass out at any given moment right now. There was just like a lot of thoughts that were running through my mind, and I was trying to have a conversation. I was trying to have a cognitive conversation with people, but all I kept thinking about was just like how awful I was feeling. Um, but that helped push me, and that helped like move me into like, you can go and you can do these things, and every time you go and every time you do these things, like you are going to be fine, like everything is going to be fine. Sorry, I'm getting emotional because I still remember just like how I was feeling, and like your mind truly just it truly plays these like horrible, horrible tricks on you. It's just like thinking like the worst thing ever. And it's something that like I still have to work on, and just like remembering that all of these bad thoughts, all of these negative thoughts, like none of these things come from God. The only thing that will ever come from God are things of joy and things of peace. Um, if you read the word, if you're open and if you're reading your Bible, like even through like the bad times and through all the, ups and downs that go in the Bible, right? Even through all of these trials that all of these imperfect people faced, like God was always there, and he never once condemned them, and he never once like told them like you're not good enough. He never once told them like you're going to fail. He never once told them anything bad or anything negative. Um and as much as I want to say, and as much as like people will tell you like, oh, that's the enemy spewing lies at you, which like I'm sure at some points it's true, but it's also me. Like it's also my own doing. Like I don't need the devil to tell me that I'm not good enough, like cuz I can do that all on my own. And it's like a prayer that I pray like almost every day, where it's like, Lord, like, Romans, like renew my mind. And sometimes I feel that I have to pray that like multiple times a day, because I will feel my brain just like spiraling over like the most nonsense things. And like it it truly takes my joy away, because there are times where my brain is just thinking of all of these things, and I can't see what's in front of me. I can't see the joy that's in front of me. I can't enjoy like my children. I can't enjoy my husband. I can't enjoy my friends, because my brain is just processing all of these things that just don't need to be there, that don't need to be processed. So I can blame the enemy, right? You can blame all these other people, you can blame all these other things, but truly, we're only there. We only stay there because of us. Like, you are only there because you continue to do this to yourself. And that is, that is a harsh, 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 harsh reality. Um, but one that the Holy Spirit has truly been convicting me on lately. Um, because it's like, God's telling me, like, I equipped you with everything that you need. I give you the strength, I give you the peace, I give you the joy, but you're the only one who's taking it away from you. Um, yeah. So, anyways, um, during these months of just bad bad anxiety, I was slowly just trying to build these relationships and these connections with people. And come like December, just like the holidays in general, it's just really anxiety inducing for me. Which we're working on. I feel that this last December it wasn't as bad, but it was still pretty bad. Again, something of my own doing, right? It's not the enemy telling me like Christmas is here, Jesus is here. Like, it's like, no, this is my own doing, my own thinking of like this is gonna go wrong and that's gonna go wrong and this is gonna happen, right? Um, and so I had reached out to my therapist again back in the end of 2023. And I was like, you know what? Things are getting really bad again. Like, I feel like I need to do therapy again. She was like, okay. And she didn't have anything open for like the next couple of weeks or so. Um, and so I started seeing her, and she gave me this really morbid analogy of like, you and I, she's like, we're on a boat and I'm helping you row. She's like, we're just treading water. She's like, and sometimes a dead body is gonna like pop out from underneath, it's gonna surface up to the water level. And she's like, I can help you flip it over and figure out what it is, or I can help you just drag it back down. She's like, whatever it is, whatever you need. And she's like, and right now, probably like another dead body just got up. She's like, it's not that something is worse or something is wrong. It's just that something else that you have had hidden inside of you just decided to resurface itself. And so I felt that having her was just kind of like a safety net, right? It was like, okay, well, now I'm in therapy. So now in therapy, she's going to fix everything and she's going to retell me how to fix all of this stuff. But again, it's only me. It's only me being able to fix everything. It's only me being able to change the way that my mind works. It's only me being able to process these things or whatever feelings or whatever trauma, whatever it is that's kind of resurfacing. Like it's only up to me. She doesn't give me um like a step by step point of like how to fix this. So she doesn't give me a step by step like itinerary of like how to live my life, right? Like it's up to me. And I only ever saw her like every 2 weeks. So during the times that I wasn't seeing her, it was like, well, what am I doing? How am I surviving? How am I um like getting past those moments of anxiety and sometimes panic when I'm not seeing my therapist, right? And it was like, well, I am praying, but also I am reaching out to people that I know that can essentially help me, right? Like I've called friends and I've texted friends to pray for me and I've gone over to people's houses or I've been in people's cars when I'm like crying and crying and crying and I'm like, I can't do this, and then it eventually just goes away. It always just goes away. And so for a while have been feeling like I don't think I need my therapist anymore. And this was something that I've kind of been praying about for like a couple of months now, right? Where it's like I don't feel that like I need her, and I don't mean that in like a disrespectful way, but I feel that like I have gotten everything that I've needed to get out of therapy. And there were points where like my sessions just weren't very productive. They felt just like gossip sessions, like I would just tell her like what happened and who said this and who did that and who all this and all this stuff, right? And it was like that's not productive, right? Like that's not helping me essentially process anything, right? That's just like making me remember everything and like rehash all the feelings that I had when this or that or whatever happened. Um and so I was like that's not like yeah, I was like that's not productive. I don't like it makes me feel icky. Like I don't like the way that I feel once I leave these sessions. And there were some times where she would say things that were just like really triggering and that would cause me anxiety for like days to come. And I was like, I don't think that's how therapy should be either, right? Like I don't think she did it intentionally. But it was just like I don't think that I should be leaving here feeling worse than I did like coming in, right? And I didn't feel that I felt worse before, but just, like a just in general sort of thing. But I had been praying about it where I was like, okay, I really need to I really need to quit. I really need to stop. And my husband would always tell me, he's like, you know what? He's like, all you ever do is complain about her, or just like complain about your sessions in general. He's like, I really think you should quit. And I've been talking to some friends and they're all like, yeah, I don't think that's the way that you should be feeling when you go to therapy or when you're done with your sessions, right? And so I'd been praying and praying for God to just give me the strength to to quit, to finally tell her, you know what? Like I'm just gonna rip the band-aid and I'm gonna just kind of call this quits. And so um last night I prayed and I was like, Lord, I was like, I like if you want me to quit therapy, like just show me, right? Like please, like if this is something that I just don't need anymore, right? Then just let me know. And right before I texted a friend and I texted my husband and I was like, all right, pray that I can finally just tell her I'm done, like I was like, pray that I can have the courage to quit therapy. And so we went through our session and it actually was a pretty good session, right? Like we were talking about certain things and connecting to other things. And in my head, I was like, oh man, I was like, maybe I still do need her, right? Like maybe I still need her to process all these things. But then she said something that wasn't intentional to trigger me, but it triggered me. And at that point, I was like, nope. I'm like, I can't do this every 2 weeks, right? Like I can't go into therapy not knowing what she's going to say and if it's going to make me feel worse. And so, I decided, and I was seeing the time like running out as she's talking and I'm talking and we're like keeping the conversation flowing, right? And I'm seeing the time and I'm seeing the time. And then I saw that it was like 1 minute past my time. And then I was like, right, and just like word vomit. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I've really been thinking, and I told her um how I was feeling. I was like, I don't think that the last time we discharged me prematurely, I just don't think that I had strong enough foundations to like continue if the anxiety or the panic came back. And I'm like, but now I feel that I do. Now I feel that I have people that I can call or talk to or text or go to their house or whatever if I'm ever feeling really that bad. That's not my husband who works 2 hours away and who can't really help me at the time. I'm like, so yeah, I'm like, so I like I think that I am ready to just say goodbye. And she said, okay. She's like, I've been feeling this way for a while now. She's like, but I was kind of waiting for you to say something, right? And so um she said, do you want this to be your last session, or do you want to go another 2 weeks and we'll make the next one the last session? And I was like, I think I just have to make this session my last session. And she was like, okay. And I wanted to cry at the end because you know she was very helpful to me. And there's still those what ifs of like, what if it comes back, and what if it's worse, and what if that. um but she did say, like, if you ever need anything, like, you can always email me or text me and keep me updated on how your life is going. And I was like, okay. um and I was like, this is it, like, we're really doing this. And so that was it. I had my last session, well, now ended about 30 minutes ago. Um, and I have been obviously crying ever since, because I am scared and I'm terrified, but at the same time, like, I know that God is happy because I am honoring what he has asked me to do, which is to stop relying on my therapist and to start relying on him more. So, um, my prayer for today is just that the Lord can bring me peace and comfort in knowing that I have made the right decision, that I have done good by him. But also, I just pray for peace and comfort for anyone out there who, I don't know, is maybe going through just different things that we're just not willing to open and to talk about. Know that the Lord sees you and hears you, but also know that the Lord will put the right people in your life. I am I'm just beyond grateful for all the people that the Lord has brought into our lives. And I've never known friendships like this. I've never truly known like love like this also. I mean, my husband, sure, but um and it's such a comforting feeling in knowing that, you know, that I have this, and that everything's going to be okay in the end. So today I am learning to let go of my crutch of therapy. I am learning to let go of my self doubt, and I'm learning to let go of these just awful thoughts that run through my head that something is just going to go terribly wrong. Um, and I pray that my mind and that your mind gets renewed every day whenever these thoughts occur, because we are all new creations.